Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Kata Podgorski. I'm the project manager for State Project 173-551, installation and revision of traffic control signals in District 3. I'm just going to shut off my video here and audio just for a few minutes to give a couple more people a chance to join us, and I'll just be back in a few minutes. Thank you. Hi again. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this public information meeting for State Project 173-551, installation and revision of traffic control signals in District 3. So District 3 is this area of Southwestern Connecticut that you can see depicted in the map. We call it kind of Southwestern. It goes from Greenwich to about Madison along the coastline and a couple of the interior towns. So for the purposes of this project, I might call it District 3, I might call it Southwestern Connecticut, but we have specific locations that we're working in within this district for this project. They're in the towns of East Haven, Fairfield, Milford, North Haven, Norwalk, Trumbull, Wallingford, West Haven, and Westport. So we'll get a little bit more specific about these locations later in the presentation, but just so you're aware, it is kind of limited to those locations. And I'm just going to point out at the top here that our email address to reach the project team about this project is dotsignalreplacements@ct.gov. So you are welcome to reach us at that email address at any time. So let's get going with a couple of housekeeping items. So first, you're able to view captions and subtitles in Zoom kind of live as I'm talking. To do that, you want to find the Show Captions, the CC button that's showing in your Zoom browser, and click on it, and then you're able to select from a big list of languages, and then it'll translate in real time. So for a quick meeting overview, we have a couple more housekeeping items, and then I'm going to introduce the project team and talk about the purpose of the meeting and give an overview of the project and some of the project coordination that we've been doing, and that's going to be ongoing throughout the project life cycle. We'll talk a little bit about potential right-of-way impacts and what that process looks like if it is needed, and give an overview of the project costs and schedule and talk about what's coming up next. And then at the end, we'll have a live Q&A session. So regarding the Q&A session, there's several ways to get in touch with us live during the session. You are able to email us, and we'll be monitoring the inbox for that email address. You could call and leave a voicemail at our phone number. It's 860-594-2020. There's also a Q&A feature on Zoom that I'll show you a little more details on. And just for your information, there's a project webpage that you're able to access whenever you're interested in accessing it online. So if you could Google 173-551 CTDOT and it would come up for you, but there it is there. And just a note about our comment period. So for public meetings, we have a 2-week public comment period in which we'll receive and respond to all the comments that we receive at all these different methods. And then after that, you're always welcome to communicate with each town has a designated local traffic authority. You're able to find the list of who all the LTAs, as we call them, are for each town in the state if you Google CTDOT LTA list. And they're a really good resource to coordinate on with about this project or really any other traffic or transportation issues you're having locally in your town. So to use the Q&A feature, you can find the Q&A icon within your Zoom browser window and click on that. And this window should pop up and you're able to type your question and hit enter, and it should show up for us to read and respond to. And if you're an audio only participant, feel free to dial *9 and that can raise and lower your hand and we can unmute you. So this is the Title VI civil rights slide. It says that no person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. So we have a voluntary post-meeting survey. If anyone wants to share feedback, we would welcome it regarding this public meeting process and accessibility. So there's a QR code there and also a website address. And then there's more civil rights information if you're interested on our website, our Title VI page. And this is another notice, Title VI notice, saying that the department operates its programs and services without regard to race, color, and national origin in accordance with the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Any person who believes she or he has been aggrieved by any unlawful discriminatory practice under Title VI may file a complaint with the CTDOT. And for more information on the Civil Rights Program and procedures, you can contact CONDOT's Title VI coordinator at 860-594-2169 or email deborah.goss@ct.gov. And here's the same information in Spanish that I'll just let folks read for a second before we move to the next. Okay. So let me introduce the project team that we have working on this project. Matthew Bloom is our Division Chief of Traffic Engineering here at the CTDOT. Lisa Conroy is the Principal Engineer in the Traffic Signals Unit. Again, my name is Kata Podgorski. I'm the Project Manager, and I'm working with project engineers in the Signals Unit, Nicholas Welsh and Elle Funari, and Fred Orley. And then Jack Carlson is also here from the DOT, and he's in the right-of-way group. So he'll be representing that portion of the work. And then we have Colleen Byrne is here from Tyne Bond. She's our consultant engineer, and she's here to present some specifics about design at all these specific locations within the project. So the purpose of the meeting is to introduce the signal replacement program. So this project is part of an ongoing program, and we scope out these projects not just in District 3, but throughout the state kind of annually, and what the purpose of them and how they come into how we choose which locations. So just to give you a little bit of an overview of what this project is within the larger framework, and then we'll give an overview of this particular project and talk about its status, and then get some input and respond to any comments or questions. So for an overview of this specific project, we have 13 traffic signals throughout the district that are going to be fully replaced. So all of their traffic signal equipment is going to be the existing equipment removed, and new equipment that will be built to current standards will be installed. And they are there's one signal in East Haven, one in Fairfield, one in Milford, 3 in North Haven, 2 in Norwalk, 1 in Trumbull, 1 in Wallingford, 2 in West Haven, and 1 in Westport. And we'll zoom in on these later. And then in addition to those full replacements, we have 36 locations that are getting controller replacements only. So this is really just kind of upgrading the equipment that's in the controller cabinet that helps the signal run more reliably and efficiently. So there's 36 locations, 13 in Fairfield, 18 in Norwalk, and 5 in Wilton. So for an overview of, this is what we call district various projects. The state owns and maintains about 2,800 traffic signals on state roadways, really all over in most towns in the state. And we have a goal and a responsibility to keep signals working in good order. And so we've collected an extensive database of information about our traffic signals that can help us identify what condition they're in, and they get ratings of good, fair, or poor based on a number of criteria. So some of that criteria is the age of the equipment, or the structure rating that's based off of inspections that are done of all of our support structures. We have information documented about all of the maintenance calls that these locations receive. We also solicit input from folks in our districts who are working in these areas and observing issues and getting the calls. And then we also just take a look at the existing equipment and whether it's kind of outdated in terms of the type and the application, and hardware and detection equipment in particular are very technology heavy, and they evolve very quickly, so they can get outdated very quickly. So these intersections, these locations have been identified because they have some component that is old or outdated or obsolete or maybe structurally less than good. So the purpose and need, again, to clarify, is to replace aging signal infrastructure with new signal equipment to achieve a state of good repair. So the improvements that you could expect to see at these full replacement locations are new signal equipment, and then kind of improved and upgraded pedestrian accommodations, which include installation of curb ramps and sidewalks in some cases, potential flashing yellow arrows for permitted left turn movements where there are exclusive left turn lanes, new vehicle detection, which will show you what that looks like in a few slides, improved access and accommodations at transit stops, and then illumination will be installed to light crosswalks and transit stops, crosswalks on state roads. and transit stops. So when I talk about traffic signal equipment and installing it to the latest standards, here's a little bit more about what I mean. Mast arms are kind of the current preference in the state for traffic signal design. You can see on the bottom right, this is a typical mast arm that would be used for a project like this. This one is painted black. That is done per town requests, but it could be up to the town if they choose not to color the mast arms. It would just be a standard kind of grayish color. Signal heads, so you see the green, yellow, red indications. That's what we mean by signal heads. That's the whole kind of purpose for the signal, is all this equipment and hardware and structures are to get these indications where drivers can see them and understand them. Vehicle detection equipment, we'll talk about that in another slide. Controllers, so up at the top right, you see this kind of massive technology and wiring. All of this is contained within a cabinet that's on the roadside next to every traffic signal in the state. So you might see some of those driving around. If you open it up, it would have all of this equipment in it. Some of it is used to communicate with the indications, to tell them which phase goes next, and make sure the proper lights turn on in the proper order. And then some of the equipment is used to communicate with adjacent traffic signals or used to communicate with a centralized traffic operations center so that they can be monitored kind of remotely. So all of this technology, it will get replaced for these full replacement locations. And then emergency preemption. Those are devices that are used to facilitate movements of large emergency response vehicles like fire trucks. They can hold a green for an extra amount of time if they know that a truck is approaching. So it's used to communicate with trucks. And then communication, as I kind of mentioned, how signals can interact with each other and interact with kind of a home office. And then in terms of pedestrian accommodations, these are often some of the most noticeable improvements when we do these full replacements. A lot of times we're looking to implement complete streets improvements to make our infrastructure more accessible for all road users. So there's some new crosswalks that get added. There are ADA compliant curb ramps that are added. Sidewalks, if there's an adjacent existing sidewalk that's kind of terminates, we can make some connections. We can make connections to nearby bus stops. And then pedestrian signals, the flashing hands and the walker, the pedestrian indications, along with the push buttons to call the phase. A lot of those are being added. And then what's kind of new in the state is the installation of these blank out signs that you're seeing in this looping video. Those are installed and used to call attention to the conflict between right turning vehicles and pedestrians. So when pedestrians are moving at the same time as adjacent traffic, we want that traffic that might be turning right to be aware that there's pedestrians that could be in the crosswalk and conflicting, and pay attention. So those blank out signs are used to assist with that. And then here's the slide to kind of explain what I mean by vehicle detection, or help me. So the typical detection equipment that we like to use in a lot of cases includes a 360-degree camera. So you might see some of these attached to mast arms or maybe the top of span poles as you're driving around. So these are used to kind of generate an image where we can draw detection zones. So detection zones are areas that we want to know if vehicles are in them, and they correspond to the different lanes. And some of these lanes are like a exclusive left turn lane or exclusive right turn lane. Some of them on side streets or the artery. So knowing what cars, or if there are any cars, or how many cars are located in each zone helps the traffic signal decide which phase to call next. So it could skip a phase or it could call a phase depending upon, it can be responsive to the traffic that's at the signal and waiting. So there's no recording. There's nobody on the other end kind of watching this device. It's just used as a tool to help the signal be more efficient in its operation. And then on the bottom, that's kind of white rectangular detector it's a radar detector, and those are used to detect vehicles on high-speed approaches and prevent kind of accidental red light running. When speeds are higher, it's kind of more difficult for drivers to make a decision on whether to go through a light or whether to stop. So these detectors can help identify if there's cars that are kind of in that dilemma zone and decide if the phase needs to be extended to prevent the light from turning red as they're approaching. And so now we're going to get into the specifics of each of these locations in the project. And for that, I'm going to hand it over to Colleen.
Thank you, Kata. Good evening, everyone. My name is Colleen Byrne. I'm the consultant project manager with Ty and Bond supporting CTDOT on this project. Our team has been assisting DOT with the engineering and the design of the proposed signal improvements. And now I will walk through the 13 intersections included in the full signal replacement portion of the project and highlight the proposed preliminary concepts for each location. As you'll see, these layouts represent our current preliminary designs, so they will continue to be refined as we receive public input, complete our utility coordination, and advance through the final design process. For each intersection, I'll first orient you to the aerial photograph in the top left corner, and then I'll walk through the proposed improvements shown on the colorized plan on the right side of each slide. Before we begin, I'll briefly explain the legend shown at the bottom of each slide and what that color coding means. So the dark blue represents our new mast arms, while the green indicates the proposed signal heads, those triangles. The purple and pink highlights are our proposed sidewalks and our ADA ramp improvements. The yellow is the proposed crosswalks. The orange indicates a new or a proposed relocated stop bar. And the light blue identifies areas where temporary or permanent easements may be required. That's not shown on the specific plan, but I'll highlight those as we go through each location. And then the green box with the X in it is our controller cabinet, which is located at each location. So the same color scheme is used throughout each location. And with that, I will start to dive into our intersection specifics. So the first location is in East Haven, intersection 043-232. This is Route 100 at Granite Street. So in the aerial in the top left corner, Route 100 is the horizontal roadway running left to right in the actually northbound and southbound direction, with Granite Street intersecting at the top side of your plan vertically from the west. In the bottom left corner, this view is from the Route 100 northbound approach. So Granite Street is intersecting on the left side of the image here. Looking at our preliminary layout, so we're proposing a single diagonal mast arm at this location that's located in the northwest corner. There are two new proposed crosswalks. Those are shown in yellow across the north leg and the west leg. We're relocating stop bars to accommodate those proposed crossings. And each of the ends of the crossing will have a new sidewalk ramp installed with connecting sidewalk segments in between. And those red rectangles are representing our pedestrian signal faces at each side of the crossing. As I mentioned, there are no easements at this location, so I'll point those out next one here. So this is, we're in Fairfield, intersection 050-214. This is US Route 1 at Brick Walk Drive in the USPS post office. So as with other locations in the project, we're fully replacing all the equipment, including 2 new diagonal mast arms on the northeast and northwest corners of the intersection. It's a relocated crosswalk that's being moved from the north side of the leg over closer to the intersection. And sorry, I forgot to orient us. Going back to the aerial in the top left corner, US Route 1 is the northbound southbound route running horizontally across your screen, with the post office drive intersecting from the west at the top of the screen and Brick Walk intersecting from the bottom of the screen. The view in the bottom left corner is from US Route 1 northbound approach. So in this one, Brick Walk Drive is on the right side intersecting. So going back to the layout, sorry. So proposing to relocate the crosswalk that's existing further to the north and bringing that into the functional area of the signalized intersection. So this will provide better pedestrian accommodation and safety throughout this area. The stop bars are being relocated on the north leg to accommodate that crossing. We have our pedestrian signal faces for each side of that crossing. And as I mentioned before, there are 2 mast arms serving the 4 approaches of this intersection. Each of those mast arm foundation does require a small easement area. That's the area shown in the light blue, and that is to accommodate the installation of those where there's some minor impacts on private property. Moving on to the next intersection, we are now in Milford, intersection 083217. We're still on US Route 1, but we're at Lansdale Ave. So in the aerial view in the top left corner, US Route 1 is running horizontally with Lansdale Ave intersecting from the south at the bottom of the image. The street view imagery on the bottom left is from US Route 1 northbound approach. So here Lansdale Ave is intersecting on the right side of the screen. So this intersection is proposing one new crossing across Lansdale Ave and replacing the 2 existing crossings on the north or east and west legs of US Route 1. There is a 2 mast arms serving this intersection, so a diagonal mast arm in the bottom right corner, and then a perpendicular mast arm to the US Route 1 approach in the top left corner of the intersection. There is a couple easements identified to accommodate the proposed installation of the sidewalks and the sidewalk ramps here. So across the top side of the screen, you'll see that larger area for the driveway reconstruction and the sidewalks, and then in the bottom right corner of the intersection to accommodate the installation of the mast arm. I do want to highlight on this one, there's 2 bus transit stops that are proposed, or their existing transit stops are proposed boarding pad, so one on each side of US Route 1 adjacent to the intersection. 3 relocated stop bars at that location as well to accommodate those crossings. So moving on to North Haven, intersection 100217. This is Route 22 at Bishop Street and State Route 725. This intersection in the top left corner aerial, SR 725 is the north leg, and US Route 22 is running horizontally across your screen, left to right, with Hartford Turnpike intersecting from the bottom of the image. The street view imagery is from the Route 22 eastbound approach, so SR 725 northbound is intersecting from the left and Hartford Turnpike from the right. So this intersection proposes 3 new mast arms, one in the southeast, southwest, and northwest corner. There are 2 proposed crossings. These are new crossings to the intersection. These are on the south and the west legs. Each of those will have associated ramps and sidewalk segments connecting them, along with those pedestrian signal faces. There is one relocated stop bar here on the south leg to accommodate that proposed crossing, and a small easement in the top left corner, so the northwest corner, to accommodate the installation of that mast arm and sidewalk ramps. So we're still in North Haven now at intersection 100241. This is SR 725 at the Route 15 southbound ramps. The image in the top left corner has the Route 15 southbound ramps intersecting from the bottom or the east leg, with SR 725 on the left side of the image intersecting from the south, and Hartford Turnpike on the right. The street view image on the bottom is from the Hartford Turnpike southbound approach. So in this image, the Route 15 southbound ramps are on the left side. So this intersection is proposing 4 new mast arms, 1 on each corner, with 4 new crossings, 1 on each leg. There are proposed sidewalk ramps, pedestrian signal faces, and connecting sidewalk segments on each of those corners. There is a proposed easement area in the top left corner to accommodate the installation of that mast arm foundation, and 1 relocated stop bar on the west leg at the top side of the intersection. So this intersection, we're also looking at proposing some potential phasing or timing improvements and potential coordination with adjacent intersections to help improve some of the operations and enhancements that can be incorporated within the scope of the project. So next intersection, we are still in North Haven. This is intersection 100-242, the Route 22 at the Route 15 northbound ramps. There are 2 diagonal mast arms at this location. Going back to the aerial in the top left corner, Route 22 is running left to right across your screen horizontally, with the Route 15 northbound ramps intersecting on the bottom of the image. The street view image in the bottom left corner is from Route 22 eastbound. So in that image, the Route 15 northbound ramps are intersecting from the right side. So those 2 diagonal mast arms are serving the 3 approaches of this intersection, with 2 new proposed crosswalks across the east leg and the south leg. There is sidewalk ramps and sidewalk segments that are connecting on the bottom right corner, with a small easement area to accommodate those proposed ramp and sidewalk installations. We have a proposed relocated stop bar on the east leg of the intersection to accommodate that installation of that proposed crossing. Again, this intersection we're looking at coordination options to coordinate the 3 New Haven intersections into a larger system to provide some potential operational improvements. So we are moving on to Norwalk. We are intersection 102-270. This is SR 719 at the Merritt 7 driveway and Valley View Road. So in the area in the top left corner, SR 719 runs northbound, southbound horizontally across the screen. Merritt 7 intersecting from the west side at the top of your screen, and then Valley View Road at the east leg at the bottom of the image. The street view imagery is from SR 719 northbound approach. So in this image, Valley View Road is intersecting on the right side of the screen, with Merritt 7 being on the left side of the image. So here we're proposing 2 new diagonal mast arms to serve all 4 approaches of the intersection. There are crossings proposed on all 4 legs of the intersection. 2 of those are existing and 2 of those will be new crossings. Each corner has sidewalk ramps and supporting sidewalk segments to connect into existing sidewalk. The northeast corner, so the bottom right corner of the intersection, has another small easement area to accommodate the installation of the pedestrian signal equipment and the sidewalks, with a proposed stop bar relocation on both the Merritt 7 driveway and the northbound leg, so the south leg of the intersection on the left side of the screen on SR 719. So we're still in Norwalk, but now at intersection 102-283. This is Route 136 at Martin Luther King Jr. Drive and Old Trolley Way. So this intersection has a little bit of a unique configuration with State Route 136 on the north leg, and then continuing on the east leg on the right side of your screen, with Old Trolley Way intersecting on the bottom side of the image and MLK Jr. intersecting from the left side of the image. So from the street view imagery at the bottom, Martin Luther King Drive is the approach you're viewing, with Old Trolley Way intersecting on the right side of that image. This intersection is proposed to be served by 3 new mast arms. So your top left corner, top right corner, and bottom right corner of the intersection. There are 2 new proposed crossings, so across the north leg of Route 136 and the west leg of MLK Jr. Drive. Again, a small easement area may be required in the top left corner of the intersection to accommodate some of the installations of equipment here. Those 2 crosswalks connecting are served by new pedestrian ramps and connecting sidewalk segments. And 1 small stop bar relocation is required on that Route 136 southbound approach to accommodate that proposed crossing. So moving on to Trumbull, intersection 144-248. This is State Route 743 at Route 8 northbound off-ramps. So in the aerial image in the top left corner, SR 743 runs northbound southbound horizontally across your screen, with the Route 8 northbound off-ramp intersecting from the top of your screen. The street view image in the bottom left corner is from SR 743 northbound. So here, Route 8 northbound off-ramps are intersecting from the left side of the image. So this intersection is proposing 1 new diagonal mast arm located at the bottom side of the intersection. This will serve all 3 approaches. There is a supplemental head proposed at the off-ramp on the top right corner to also service that northbound off-ramp approach. We have 1 new crossing here. So this is on the SR 743 northbound leg with connecting ramps at either side and those pedestrian signal faces serving that crossing. There is a small stop bar relocation proposed on the north leg of the intersection. I think that no easements on this one. So moving on to Wallingford, intersection 148-261. This is US Route 5 at Home Depot and Neal Road. So in the aerial imagery in the top left corner, US Route 1 runs northbound southbound horizontally across your screen, with the Home Depot driveway intersecting from the top of your screen, which is the west leg, and then Neal Road at the bottom, which is the east leg of the intersection. This street view image in the bottom left corner is from the US Route 5 northbound approach. So in that image, Home Depot is intersecting on the left side of the image, and Neal Road is on the right side of that image. Looking at this intersection, we have 4 new proposed mast arms, 1 serving each approach of the intersection. There are 4 new proposed crosswalks, 1 across each leg of the intersection, with associated sidewalk ramps, pedestrian signal faces, and connecting sidewalk segments on each of the corners. There is a few stop bar relocations on 3 of the 4 approaches, mostly to accommodate those crossings, and a couple easements, top right, top left, and bottom left corner of the intersection on your screen. And those are all to support the installation of either the mast arms or sidewalk or the traffic signal controller in this case. Next intersection, we're moving on to West Haven. So it's intersection 156-239, US Route 1 at Peabody Street and the Warehouse Foods driveway. So in the aerial image in the top left corner of your screen, US Route 1 runs northbound southbound horizontally across the image, with the Warehouse Foods driveway intersecting from the top of the image and Peabody Street intersecting from the bottom of that image. The street view imagery in the bottom left corner is from US Route 1 northbound. So in this image, the Warehouse Goods driveway is intersecting from the left side with the Peabody Street coming in on the right side of the screen. This intersection is proposed to be served by 4 new mast arms, 1 on each corner of the intersection, supporting the far side approach, with also 4 new crosswalks, 1 on each leg of the intersection. Each of those has associated sidewalk ramps, pedestrian signal faces, and sidewalk connections. You'll also notice at this location we have some sidewalk extensions across the top side. So one of those is connecting into a proposed boarding pad for a transit stop in the top left corner. And the other side, top right corner, is a reconstruction of sidewalk connecting to the north on US Route 1. There are a few stop bar relocations here on the top of your screen and the bottom of your screen to accommodate those proposed crosswalks. And then what looks like some larger easement areas, but these are mostly frontage areas to accommodate the private property on the north side of your screen and the installation of the associated traffic signal equipment along that side of the intersection. And then the bottom left corner and bottom right corner, small easement areas to accommodate the proposed sidewalk installations and the mast arm foundations in those corners. So we're still in West Haven. This is intersection 156-245. This is Route 162 at Night Lane. In the aerial image in the top left corner of your screen, Route 162 runs eastbound, westbound, horizontally left to right across your screen, with Night Lane intersecting from the north or the top of the image. In the street view imagery in the bottom left corner, Route 162 westbound is the approach that you're seeing, where Night Lane is now intersecting on the right side of this image. So here we have a single diagonal mast arm serving all 3 approaches of the intersection, with 3 crossings on the north, east, and west legs. 2 of those are new crossings. The proposed crossing on the left side of your screen is an existing crossing. We have supporting sidewalk ramps at each of these crossing locations, and you'll also notice on this one some reconstruction of sidewalk to connect to 2 existing transit stops in both the top right corner and the bottom left corner, and some additional sidewalk extensions to connect back to existing sidewalk or infill where existing sidewalk doesn't exist today. Each of these has associated ramps, pedestrian signal faces, and there are a few small proposed easement areas on the top left, top right, and bottom right corners, again, to support the installation of that traffic signal equipment and sidewalk. And in the bottom right corner, the mast arm foundation and controller. And our last intersection, but not least, we're in Westport, intersection 158-221. So this is US Route 1 at Maple Avenue, north and south. So on the aerial image in the top left corner of your screen, US Route 1 northbound, southbound runs horizontally left to right. And Maple Avenue North is intersecting on the top side of your screen, where Maple Avenue South is the bottom leg of the intersection. The street view image here is taken from Maple Ave South, so US Route 1 is intersecting on the left and right side of that intersection street view. So we are proposing to serve this intersection via 3 new mast arms. So the top right corner, top left corner, and bottom left corner of this intersection. There are 2 existing crossings today across both legs of US Route 1, but 2 new additional crossings are proposed across Maple Avenue North and Maple Avenue South. Each of those is serviced by new sidewalk ramps with sidewalk connections to connect those ramps. There are 2 small easement areas in the top left and top right corner of the intersection, and both of those are to accommodate those proposed mast arm and sidewalk installations. And I think that wraps up all of our preliminary intersection reviews for our full replacement intersection. Just a couple of things on overall project coordination. So through the design process, CTDOT has been coordinating with our municipalities and utility companies and other stakeholders. So project notification letters were sent out to the municipalities in July of 25. And more recently, requests were sent for design considerations in March of 26. Our utility coordination is ongoing. We'll have a virtual utility meeting this summer with the utility companies at each of the locations, and that'll be followed with field meetings with both the municipal representatives as well as our utility companies, and those will be later this summer or early fall. We're also having this virtual public information meeting today, so July 14th, 2026, to gather input from the municipalities and the public on our designs. And then just touching on right-of-way and potential right-of-way impacts. So one additional aspect we've mentioned in some of the project layouts is the right-of-way coordination and potential easements. So our goal through our design process has always been to keep our improvements within the public right-of-way and wherever we can practically, but sometimes small easement areas, either temporary for construction or more permanent for signal equipment, are required. So those were those blue areas that we talked about in each of the locations, and those might be required for either our signal equipment or pedestrian improvements. The number and extent of these are still being finalized as our design progresses. But with that, I'll turn it over to Jack Carlson from our CTDOT Rights-of-Way Division, who can explain that process in a little bit more detail.
Thank you, Colleen. Good evening. My name is Jack Carlson, and I'm a project coordinator with the Department's Division of Rights-of-Way. Our office is responsible for acquiring the property rights needed for transportation projects. As Colleen mentioned earlier in the presentation, this project will require the acquisition of property rights, so I'd like to give a brief overview of our acquisition process. First, I'd like to introduce the different types of agents that you may interact with in our rights-of-way office if you were to have an impact on your property. You have our administration agents, such as myself, the project coordinators. You have our title searchers who visit the town hall and search the land records to ensure that the property owner is correct and that there are no encumbrances or liens that would prevent the acquisition of property rights. There are licensed appraisers who provide a cost estimate for the total project as well as appraisal of the property depending on the complexity of the acquisition. You have our acquisition agents who are negotiators who may provide a valuation and will be the agents that you would primarily interact with once the project has reached that stage. And then our title closing agents who prepare the easement deeds, the warranty deeds, as well as request the maps and render payment and meet with you to finalize the acquisition. Again, any required property rights will be acquired in accordance with the Connecticut General Statute Section 13A73 and 13A98E, as well as the Federal Uniform Act. And as Colleen mentioned already, the specific right-of-way impacts are still being finalized and may change as the project design progresses. Next slide. The right-of-way acquisition process begins once the project design has progressed to development milestone and all the impacts have been determined. At this point, each affected property owner will receive from our office a formal letter of intent to acquire, or what we call our initial letter, along with a property map which will depict the specific property rights being acquired. On the right side of your screen, there's an example of what a property map may look like. Again, this is a different project, but we'll show your boundaries of your property, the road, as well as describe any of the easements being acquired in the area of that easement. Next, our office will determine the fair market value of those property rights, which will be used to establish an offer of just compensation. That offer will be sent out to the property owner in writing, and a rights-of-way agent will be available to meet with the property owner to explain the project, go over the specific impacts to their property, and review the department's offer. The property owner will then have a reasonable amount of time to consider the department's offer and enter into negotiations. When an agreement is reached, the department will then prepare all of the necessary paperwork to record the deed and property map on the town land records. However, if an agreement is not able to be reached, in order to keep the project on schedule, the department will acquire the necessary property rights through its power of eminent domain. In that event, the state files a notice of condemnation in the Superior Court along with a monetary deposit in the amount of the department's initial offer. The affected property owner would then have 6 months from the date on the notice of condemnation they would receive in the mail to file an appeal with the Superior Court if they felt that the department's offer was inadequate. Whether or not the property owner chooses to appeal, the money deposited in the court is available to be withdrawn by the owner. Again, as Colleen already mentioned, it's important to note we only acquire property rights that are needed for the project. And if there's any questions regarding the right-of-way acquisition process, I'm happy to answer them after the presentation. And with that, I'll hand it back to Kate. Thank you.
Hi, it's Kata again. I'm just here to talk a little bit about the project costs and design schedule for the remaining life cycle of the project. I just want to note this project is 100% state funded, and the estimated construction cost budget at the moment is $18 million. And then going into the design schedule, I just want to say that the schedule and is contingent upon the availability of funding moving forward. So currently we're programmed at $18 million, but things happen with funding. And so the remainder of the schedule is dependent upon that funding still being available. And also the project, should it need permits, the schedule is also kind of dependent upon the approval of permits and the acquisition of permits. But where we are now is we have just completed preliminary design, and we're moving into the final design stage of the project. So the final design products are due June 23rd in 2027, and then the project will be put out to advertise for bids in early September 2027. And then the project will get awarded and there'll be notice to proceed. And the physical construction is expected to start in the spring of 2028. And then construction for a project like this typically goes for 2 construction seasons. So it would conclude in the fall of 2030 if all things go according to plan. And so the next steps are to advance the final design and incorporate the feedback that we get, continuing to finalize our traffic signal designs, and then work with Jack to move through our right-of-way acquisition process, and also coordinate with utility companies to look at the conflicts and resolve them with the overhead and underground utilities, and hold our meetings. And so with that, I think we're ready for the live Q&A session. I'm going to turn it over to Fred.
Thank you, Kata. Hi, everyone. My name is Fred Orley. I'm a transportation engineer here at CTDOT. So once again, for questions and answers, you can use the Q&A tool on Zoom. There will be a 2-week comment period following this meeting. So you can contact us by email at dotsignalreplacements@ct.gov. I'm going to go ahead and link our email one more time in the Zoom chat so that it's easy for you guys to copy and paste. You can also contact us by phone at 860-594-2020. And you can always visit our project webpage. I will post that link in the chat as well. So we have a few questions and answers open right now. Don't worry, we are discussing them. We have one answered question that I'm going to go over briefly real quick. It's from Gail Kuykendall. They asked, why aren't the traffic lights on Route 136 in Westport near I-95 being considered for replacement? The lights are not synchronized and sensors don't work properly, resulting in significant traffic jams and wasted time. Our answer was the locations in this project were selected based on multiple factors described earlier in this presentation. There are a limited number of traffic signals that can be included in projects each year. It's possible that only a few elements of the signal need to be replaced or adjusted, such as detection equipment or signal timings, and the equipment itself is in relatively good condition. The signals are already a part of a coordinated system. It's also possible that intersections are over capacity at certain times of the day or week, and CTDOT can investigate the operation of these traffic signals to ensure they are working according to their plans. For the open questions that we still have, we have one from Louise. She asked, why is there nothing about US 1 Post Road and Route 33 intersection, Milton Road and Riverside Avenue in Westport for pedestrian signal lights across Route 33? I've been trying for 26 years to get pedestrian signal lights at one of the very worst intersections in the state of Connecticut. This is so sad and depressing. Someone is going to get killed crossing without signal lights at this intersection. Kata, do you want to go ahead and answer that?
Yes, I had one answer that I was kind of prepping on the side, and then I was reminded that once we kind of figured out where that was in space, and we recognized it, and that traffic signal, that location is actually part of our 2026 project that we just finished our final design products for earlier this year in March. So that has actually gone out to bid, and so you should be seeing improvements for that. Physical construction should start next spring, and I believe from my memory that project was scoped for pedestrian improvements, not a full replacement. So the message got through at some point, and sometimes these things just take a little bit, but generally, if anybody has concerns about pedestrian safety, please coordinate through your LTA. This is a district various project, and these locations typically get scoped by the condition of their existing traffic signal equipment. So they're not, we don't typically look at safety as a primary factor for including locations in these projects. There are other types of projects that are scoped to specifically address safety issues that are brought to the attention of folks that are scoping those projects. And so the more you can coordinate with your LTA, and the more the LTA can kind of coordinate with our safety and operations folks, the better chances that those improvements will get programmed into some project.
Thank you, Kata. We have one more question from India. She asks, as you are likely aware, there is seriously increasing traffic on Post Road. We are located between what will be the new traffic signal on Maple/Post Road and the intersection at Turkey Hill/Post Road. It has always been difficult to make a left turn from our exit driveways, and lately it is increasingly dangerous. Just recently there was an accident as a result, and it isn't the first one. Consequently, we would like you to consider changing the timing of the Maple Post Road signal so that it is synced with the Turkey Hill/Post Road signal. This would allow left turns from Regent's Park to occur much more safely. This is another question. Kata, you think that you can handle this one again?
Yes, sure. Those traffic signals along Route 1 in Westport are part of a coordinated system. So I know there's difficulties up and down Route 1 and lots of other kind of busy arterials in Connecticut with making left turn movements onto busy arterials. So it's an issue. It's just kind of a result of the land use and how congestion's built up over the years. But it is something that could be reviewed by our operations group if there's an issue with specifically coordination along this corridor or signal timing at either of these adjacent intersections. That could be kind of investigated, and coordinate with your LTA to see what he thinks. We're actually pretty well acquainted with him. He's pretty involved in coordinating with the DOT, so he's a great resource.
Thank you, Kata. One more time, I just want to reiterate that there is a 2-week comment period after this meeting. It runs through July 28th. If you email us or call us by phone, it's very important that you mention the project number, which in this case is 0173-0551. That allows it to end up in our hands, go to the right people. There's also a survey. I'm going to post the link to our survey one more time. The survey is very helpful to us. It's used to improve these public information meetings. It goes to our public involvement team, and it helps facilitate future public involvement meetings. I don't see any more questions right now, but I'm going to go ahead and give maybe a few more minutes for questions to come in if anyone has one. I'm going to go ahead and check the voicemail just in case we have a voicemail question as well. So I'm going to turn off my video briefly. Okay, we do not have anything in the voicemail. So I'll just give a couple more minutes for questions to come in if there are any. We just got another question from India. She asks, thank you. What is an LTA and who is ours in Westport? Would anyone like to answer that?
Yes, it's a local traffic authority, and Peter Ratkowitz, I just happen to know, is the LTA for Westport.
Thank you, Kata. I think that's also something that you can search for fairly easily. Um,
I'm sorry, I want to correct myself. The LTA for what, because I just looked it up. The LTA for Westport is Kevin Christie. And Peter is also very communicative and great to work with.
Thank you, Kata. All right. It doesn't seem like any more questions are coming in. So one more time, if you have any further comments, feel free to contact us at dotsigналreplacements@ct.gov or by phone at 860-594-2020, and make sure you mention the project number 0173-0551. Thank you all.